Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. In today's video, we're going to be making this cart style treat gift box. This particular box is 4 inches across. The total box height is 5 inches and it's 2 inches deep. The acetate panels are optional. Obviously, that will reduce the box element to 2 inches by 2 inches by 4 inches. The total height, including the lid and with how I've set my wheels up, it's about 7 inches. So let me show you how I put this project together. We'll start with the carriage section, and obviously you can adjust any size of any of the elements that you want for this particular project. To make a box my size, I've got 2 pieces of cardstock which are 6.5 by 4. I'm going to score along the 6.5 inch side at 4 and 6 and along the 4 inch side at 2. So you'll do that scoring on both pieces and then fold and burnish along the score lines. I have my 1/2 inch tab on the right hand side. I'm going to cut up each of these vertical score lines up to the horizontal. Rotate and remove this 1/2 inch section like so. I'm going to take a slight wedge from the smaller of the 2 tabs, and I may find as I join the box together that I need to take a slight wedge from the larger one. Rotate and take a wedge from the end of the glue tab. So you'll have 2 pieces which are cut like so. I'm going to join those 2 together to create one long strip. Take the tape off of this end, join up this side, and now we can fold in the bottom, add glue to these 2 small tabs, fold over the back, and then I can add glue onto this, fold this in, and square everything up at the same time. Burnish that down. I've then got 4 pieces of cardstock which are 1 inch wide and 5 inches long, and I've scored along the short side of 1/2 inch and burnished these thoroughly, and these are all going to sit in the corners like so. So that's going to create the support for the box and also a frame for the acetate to sit in. I'm going to add red liner tape to the front of each of these sections, so just under 2 inches so that the tape doesn't protrude. Obviously you can use glue. And again, if you want to change the height of your overall piece, you can shorten or lengthen the support pieces. So that's going to butt right into the corner, like so. I've now got my supports in place. For the acetate windows, which obviously are optional, you don't need to put these in at all. I've cut 2 pieces which are 3.5 by 3 7/8 and 2 pieces which are 3.5 by 1 7/8. I've added tape onto 3 sides. I'm aiming to get the top of the acetate level with the top of the support. So I'm going to get those into place, and then when I feel that that's level, push them into place, and then I can just go in and push down the bottom, burnish. You can see that's sitting on the inside of the supports and that's level at the top. So I'm going to do that on all 4 sides. So you can see how this is starting to come in together, and you may decide that you don't want your supports to be as wide as that. You might want narrower, So these are all things which you can change up to suit the look that you want for your piece. So now we have our box ready. I've cut 2 strips which are 1/2 inch wide and 4 inches long, and 2 which are 1/2 inch wide and 2 inches long, and I'm going to just sit those on the outside just to finish off the look of the frame. So these are clearly optional. You may decide you don't want those at all, or in fact you might want to go for a different shape. Bear in mind the lid sits on the outside of the box rather than the inside of the box. So I've added the strips on. We can now make the lid, and the size I've made for the lid does assume that the strips are going to be added on to the outside, so just bear that in mind. We'll start with 2 pieces which are 4 5/8 by 2 inches, and on each piece along the 2 inch side score at 1/2 inch, and along the 4 5/8 inch side score at 1/2 inch. Take your ruler and a pencil. If you butt your ruler up so that it's on the left hand side of the scoreboard, we're going to put a pencil mark at 2.5 plus a 1/16. So it's the notch which is coming down to the right hand side of the 2.5 inch mark on the scoreboard, or it's on your ruler, it's halfway between 2.5 and 2 5/8. So that is the centre of the main section, excluding the 1/2 inch tab. So do that on both pieces. For the remainder of the roof, you'll then need 2 pieces which are 2 5/8 times 2 3/4 plus a 1/16. So this piece, you can see, is level with the downward notch to the right of 2 3/4. Along the 2 3/4 plus side, score at 1/2 inch. Rotate, my 1/2 inch tab is at the bottom, score at 1/2 inch. Take your ruler and put a pencil mark at 1.5 plus a 1/16. So it's the downward notch on the scoreboard to the right of the 1.5 inch mark. So we're marking halfway across this section, excluding the 1/2 inch tab. So do that on both pieces. So we'll work on the larger pieces first. You'll need a stylus and a ruler. We're going to score from the top pencil mark down to the edge here at the end of the score line, and then do the same from the pencil mark down to the intersecting corner here. So we're creating our 4 roof panels. Take the 2 smaller pieces, and again we're going to score from the top pencil mark down to the end of the score line on the right, and the pencil mark down to the corner where the score lines intersect on the left. Fold and burnish along the straight score lines, and we'll be following the same process on both the large and the small pieces. Take your scissors. On each piece, with the 1/2 inch glue tab at the bottom and on the right, we're going to cut up the score line to separate these 2 pieces, and then take a wedge from the small tab, like so. With the tab on the left and at the bottom, cut away along the diagonal score line on the right hand side. Rotate the piece. You can use your trimmer for this if you prefer, but I'm going to create a rough 1/2 inch glue tab away from the remaining diagonal, like so, and then take a wedge from the end and a wedge from this end. So this is how our piece will look. and we can then go in and burnish along the remaining diagonal score line. So this is the side piece of our roof. So repeat that for the smaller piece. And then we can take our two longer pieces. We're going to follow the same process, cut up the score line to separate the two pieces, shape the corner glue tab, cut along the diagonal opposite the glue tabs, like so, and then cut myself the glue tab. And I can just shape this one. Go in and burnish along the remaining score line. So we've got our 4 roof pieces. I'm just going to get rid of any of the pencil marks. So now we can glue our pieces together. I'm going to use construction glue for this because I do want this to have the strength. So I'm going to add glue to the small glue tab and to the long glue tab. Take the smaller piece. I'm going to line up the 1/2 inch score lines at the bottom. I'll just have to hold this for a minute because it will take longer. I'm going to glue that onto there. I've put too much glue on. And then bring this round and join up the 2 pieces. So I do need to reshape my tab at the bottom so that can then fold round and sit underneath on the inside. So I'm going to change the angle of the tops of these corner glue tabs. So this one is now going to sit like so. It's actually easier to add the long side on first and then add the small glue tab into place. So you might need to change the angles of some of your tabs on your slope or on your small glue tab. So that's that one. So I'm just going to take the last one and I'm just going to offer it up to start with because I want to make sure that I'm going to get a nice, so it's not perfect at the top, but I'm probably going to stick something over that anyway. So let's get this one into place. So you can see here that this tab on this extends over the score line for the outer edge. So I'm just going to trim that across and get that excess card out of the way. So I'm just going to do that all the way around whilst it's still tacky. So you might find it better to offer the pieces up and then see whether you need to change any of the glue tabs. So I'm happy with that, and now I'm just going to go in and burnish everything down. So now we've made our lid, that sits nicely on the top like so. To support the box, I've made 4 wheels. Each wheel is made up of 2 circles added together with construction glue, and I used a 1 3/8 of an inch circle. I then added on 2 smaller circles, and these are 1/2 an inch. I've then got a smaller circle on the front, which is 1 inch, and then a pearl in the middle. And I've added the smaller circles onto the back just so that when I use those to stick the wheels on, it just means that the wheels are away from the side of the box and just adds an extra element of dimension. Now I've got the wheels prepared, I'm going to add those once I've added the decorative paper to the outside of the box. So I'll get on with that and then we'll come back and add the wheels on. Here's the finished box. In the end, I had to take the pearls off, add the wheels and then put the pearls back on because I just couldn't get the wheels in the right place. And eventually I managed to put the wheels on by measuring, made a mark in the same place on each wheel and used that pencil mark to then get the wheels into position. I've added my DSP onto all sides. So these pieces were 1 3/4 by 1 3/4. This is 3 3/4 by 1 3/4. I've added an embellishment just on the top. And for the roof, for the long sides, my starting rectangle was 3 3/8 by 1 1/4. And on the shorter sides, it was 1 7/8 by 2 1/4. I measured across along the long side at half and then cut my triangle shapes. I've added some additional ribbon around the outside edges and then just some faux bunting. I've then just added some washi tape just for a little extra effect around the top and added some embellishments on. This is for a 3-year-old for a birthday, so they are going to love all of the additional elements which have been put on top. I've really enjoyed putting this piece together and it's actually a really good size box. And I think it would make a really nice treat box for Valentine's. So there we have today's project. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.